The Pythagorean Theorem. Hello, inquisitive minds. Before we start this discussion, we need to understand three items: exponents, squares, and square roots. We have videos for all these three topics. Please see the links in the description below. Moving on, today we'll talk about the Pythagorean Theorem. Those are two big words, Pythagorean and theorem. Let's start with Pythagorean. No, that's not Pythagorean. Pythagorean comes from the dude Pythagoras, a really smart Greek thinker in the ancient times. Now, a theorem is simply a statement that can be proven. Let's just remember that for a theorem to be true, it needs proof. The Pythagorean theorem is a statement that relates to the sides of a right triangle. A triangle is a shape with three sides, 1, 2, 3. A right triangle is a triangle with one corner that is a right angle or a corner that is 90 degrees. The parts of the triangle are the base, the height, and the hypotenuse. The base and height are self-explanatory. Let's just remember that the longest side is always called the hypotenuse, another big word. Let's label the height as A, the base as B, and the hypotenuse as C. The Pythagorean theorem states that the sum of the square of the two shorter sides is equal to the square of the hypotenuse. That's hard to visualize with words, so let's use a formula instead. In formula, the Pythagorean theorem looks like this: A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A, B, and C each represent a side of a triangle, with C always being the longest side. The Pythagorean theorem states that the squares of the two shorter sides is equal to the square of the longest side. Let's not forget that this theorem will only apply to right triangles. To cite a specific example, let's assume that the base is 3 units long and the height is 4 units long. Using these values, the formula goes this way. 4 squared, which is 16, is added to 3 squared, which is 9. 16 plus 9 equals 25. Therefore, C squared is 25. And to get C, we need the square root of 25, which is 5. So replacing the Pythagorean theorem with the values we used, it goes like this. 4 squared plus 3 squared equals 5 squared. And graphically, with these values, the Pythagorean theorem looks like this. With this example, let's go about proving that the Pythagorean theorem is true. Remember, with theorems, there needs to be proof. So we have a triangle with the sides being 3, 4, and 5 units long. To get the square of a number, we develop a square on each side. So if we add up the area of the squares of the two shorter sides, it will be equal to the area of the square of the longest side. Now, a right triangle with the sides being 3, 4, and 5 is somewhat special because in this case, C is an integer or a number with no decimal points. In some examples, and more often, C is not an integer, meaning it has decimal points. Some examples of non-integers are this and this. Now, a series of integers that can fulfill the Pythagorean theorem is called a Pythagorean triple, like our example, 3, 4, and 5. Another example is 5, 12, and 13. The example we have shown is one proof of the Pythagorean theorem. There are almost 400 other proofs of the Pythagorean theorem, which is what people did before they had social media. Another proof is the arrangement of shapes. In this figure, we have what looks like two squares of the same size. The four triangles are rearranged differently in the two figures, leaving an area of what is C squared on the left figure and the sum of A squared and B squared on the right figure. But we may now ask ourselves, we're going to rule the world, and we don't need no stinking Pythagorean theorems for world domination. But we do. Let's say there's this dude with a fortress who doesn't want to let us in, so we need to storm his castle. And ancient aliens have gifted us with a laser rangefinder. With the rangefinder, we can get two distances, like this point on the ground and this window. If we know the length of two sides of a right triangle, using the Pythagorean theorem, we can get the length of the third side, which is how long a ladder we need to build to reach that window and show that dude who's boss. World domination with the Pythagorean theorem. Thank you, and please comment, like, and subscribe.